So Jerome Powell of the Fed is ready to bring some pain to households and businesses, quote unquote. These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. Powell said that the market will have to weaken before inflation can be considered under control, and these are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. A failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain.
But let's roll this up, though. He's talking about what the sentence before where he says the U.S. labor market. Why does the labor market have to go south for the economy to recover?
While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. Brought to you by your government. Okay, now, here's what's interesting. God, this is so infuriating. The problem is he's wrong. That's the other problem. Not only is this just so much an aristocracy that talks down their nose to regular people, and I'm going to throw the switch over here, and you poor people are going to have some pain in your households and businesses.
But you're going to like it.
But you're going to like me for it.
Yeah.
Because it gets rid of inflation. You arrogant. Yeah. Yeah. And he's wrong. It's, okay, so where did this inflation come from? Inflation, increase in prices. Okay, we've talked about this on the show before, but let's talk about it again. Inflation in this case did not come from a white-hot economy, that the economy just grew and was too much prosperity, God help us, to the point that prices started shooting up because there was just too much good things going on, so prices just go up. Now, that actually happened in the 70s. Okay, that was real inflation in that sense. The inflation that we had was what we're calling inflation, and it is inflation. It's an increase in prices, was primarily caused by a couple of things. When you don't produce goods and services for a half a year or a year, you create a shortage of those goods and services. You create a shortage of lumber, create a shortage of automobiles, you create a shortage of almost everything. When you create a shortage of something, 100% of the time the prices go up. Did you notice toilet paper? You know, you create a shortage of it, you create this ridiculous urgency to buy. People came out of their houses after COVID, and they've been sitting around looking at their own grimy house, and they said, I don't want to live in a grimy house anymore, I'm going to buy another house. And they rushed out of their homes like coming out of the caves like a Baptist after a casserole and went crazy buying houses and drove house prices up. Demand was ridiculous, and we saw one of the highest increases in house prices in a single year almost ever in 2020. And it was 20%, 29% it went up.
Wow.
House prices went up. Shortage. More buyers than sellers. Scarcity. It's a supply-demand curve. They used to teach it in the 7th grade. I don't think they teach it anymore. Apparently they didn't teach it to Jerome. So, but that's what, drove prices up. It was not a white-hot economy. It was a shortage created by a Fauci-induced quarantine where we shut everything down. You remember when we had to flatten the curve or we were all going to die?
It just for 2 weeks.
Did anybody ever come back and go, that was a bunch of bullcrap?
Just for 2 weeks.
Did anybody ever come back and call BS on that? But they never did. But let's just go ahead and remember, we had to flatten the curve or we were all going to die.
Right.
And so they shut the factories down. And you remember then when you had to be 6 feet apart, but then you didn't?
Mm-hmm.
And you remember then when you had to buy a mask, but you didn't? You remember then when if you got vaccine, you wouldn't get COVID, but then you got COVID anyway? You remember all that stuff? This all affected the economy because people weren't working and producing goods and services, creating a shortage, and that shortage drove prices up.
It's pent-up demand, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so lumber went 3x.
Yeah.
And on top of that, then you reach over here to the Biden administration, and they say, well, everybody needs to be driving electric cars because that's good for the air quality, even though we know that fossil fuels actually create the electricity that goes into the car. So it's kind of a problem there. But anyway, we're still going to cut off the fuel spigot and create a shortage on gas. So now we got $5 gas at the pump. Brought to you by a green policy in the White House. Okay, so inflation at the pump, inflation in housing, inflation in supply chain disruptions, creating shortages.
Chips and all that stuff, yeah.
So interest rates being low did not cause this inflation. Shortages caused it. We just established that. So interest rates being high does not fix this inflation.
It seems to exacerbate
pain
it.
and suffering to you little people because that's what you deserve because you're inflationary people. Thank you, Jerome. You arrogant, no good bureaucrat. So, I mean, seriously, if low interest rates did not heat up the economy and cause this inflation, then it is fairly easy to establish that high interest rates are not going to slow down the economy in the way you want it to. The way you slow down the economy is you get the supply chain working again, and you turn the stupid green off at the White House and get the pipeline flowing again.
And if they flooded then prices would go down because there'd be a surplus of lumber and a surplus
of gasoline,
bricks, and worker.
You know why gas was $2 under Trump? It's not because Trump's a magician. Because all he did was say, drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
That's all he said. It's the exact opposite. And there's a glut, an oversupply of gasoline.
Well, I remember that day. There was one day that
prices
went negative,
under
right?
$2. It went under $2, and oil went negative.
Oil went negative. I remember
Oil went negative, but gas at the pump was under $2.
Yeah.
Does anybody? That was 20 minutes ago, y'all. Do y'all not remember this? And no, Trump can't. He'll strut around, take credit for it, but he didn't do it.
Right.
It was just he let Chevron do their job, let Exxon do their job. Their job is not woke virtue signaling. Their job is drill for oil.
Right.
That's their job. And they're good at their job, by the way. They can produce the crap out of it if you leave them alone. So the way you fix inflation when there's shortages is you help the companies under production not raise interest rates. But these bozos are raising interest rates, and they're going to slow down the economy, but they're going to slow it down in ways they don't want to slow it down, and then it's going to be hard to jumpstart it again.
Sounds like they're going to crash it.
It's not going to create a crash. It's just dumber than crap. It's classic Keynesian economic socialism, and these guys tinkering, madmen tinkering with the soundboard, and buddy, they got the sound all off. And arrogant, you arrogant. Now, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. That's your Fed talking to you people, America. They need their butts fired. If anybody worked for me and acted like that, I'd fire them.